Welcome to episode 2 of the Health Chats podcast. My name is Kelsey, your host, and today's guest is my friend Iris Walter. She is a model, she's a yoga teacher, she's a past culinary chef, and in our conversation today, we talk about how she went from culinary to nutrition to modeling to then going to Thailand and Bali and traveling and becoming a yoga teacher who is now stepping into that new journey, rebuilding her life while still balancing all of the things she already knows. We talk about nutrition, we talk about body image. This is an incredible conversation and I think you're gonna enjoy it. So let's dive in.
Okay.
We've met a few times.
Yeah.
Always kind of by like,
Mutually.
mutual friends or like at the gym and wellness spaces,
100%.
which is why I felt like it was aligned to have you
Definitely.
on the Health Chats podcast.
Yes. And I went to school for culinary arts, but kind of within COVID, I started modeling because it was something I wanted to do when I was young. But my single father said, I don't know how comfortable I am with this. And then I moved out and was doing my own thing. I was like, I could do this.
Yeah.
So I kind of dabble in that. But while I was going to culinary school, I was in a car accident. And I have a torn labrum. So essentially my hip does not function as well as we would love it to. And I think within COVID, I kind of discovered a couple things, being modeling and also like yoga and movement and just like, I don't know. I feel like COVID was kind of a blessing because everybody got to slow down a little bit and just take it easy and feel where we were actually at. And I started doing home yoga with like Yoga with Adrian.
Oh, we love yoga with
Yeah,
Adrian.
definitely.
Every time someone tells me they do yoga with Adrian, I'm like, I feel like I send her to everyone as if I know her,
No.
as if it's like she's my homie and I'm like, support this girl. And she has no idea I exist.
100%.
But she's amazing. Yoga with Adrian, if you're listening, we
Yes.
love you.
Exactly.
So great. So great.
So good. Yeah, I do the exact same thing. Anybody who asks me about yoga or like, how'd you get so flexible and this and that? I'm like, Yoga with Adrian. Just look her
Yeah.
up. There's a million videos.
She's great.
But yeah, within that, I kind of like realized that I needed something a little bit slower, but obviously life happens and I needed to continue paying for things. So I went back to working in kitchens and I kind of, I think, overdid myself after a couple years and just I was done with it. I like quit very suddenly.
You quit the job you had or like
Yeah.
the full career of working in kitchen?
The job I had, but also like pretty much full careers of like working in kitchens. I served for a little bit, just like here and there. Just because obviously everybody needs a little bit of money. But I was fortunate enough that my settlement for my car accident kind of came through. So that's helped me a lot with like pivoting and being able to go to Thailand and do my yoga teacher training. And
Yeah.
like when I was in Australia, I like visited my grandparents and just took time to
Just literally be a human.
Exactly.
Oh, what a treat in this society where we're constantly doing.
Truly, exactly. And I was like, I feel so blessed that I can just take the time to figure out exactly what I want to pivot to next and like make it feel right for me. And definitely very grateful.
Yeah. Oh, I love
Yeah,
that. I love
That's a
it.
little story.
That's a little bit about Iris. So love. Okay, there's a few things I want to like talk about and like learn more about. So
Yeah.
modeling, food, yoga, dance
Yeah.
is another thing. Like you have
Definitely.
all of these kind of things within each other. Food is a really big one for me.
Same.
I love food, love nutrition.
Who doesn't? That's
Some people don't love food.
That's
Some people, they are like, you know what, like who cares? Like it's just, you put it in your body, it comes out the other end. And I'm like, but
Make a
you
good
can
point.
make it like so pretty and you can nourish your body, and food to me, it's medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm curious for you, that entry into food, like what was that for you?
Okay, well, my dad has his own story that we're not gonna get into right now. It's like way too long to even be going over it. But essentially my whole life he's been in like the holistic food industry, and like he healed himself with like food and a lot of like different issues that he had going on. So my whole life has just been like, when I was like 4, we're at Community Foods, which is like essentially Whole Foods. I don't know who's listening if you don't live in Calgary.
Yes.
Like, yeah, we're like downtown at Community Foods, or like the Light Cellar,
It's
or
the
like,
bougie grocery store
Yeah.
where the same box of crackers is double the size at Costco, but the same price.
Yeah, it's true. Although I feel like back then you couldn't get that kind of stuff in
No,
Costco.
back then, absolutely not.
Nowadays,
Things have changed.
Yeah, things have changed. We've definitely pivoted as a society, which is so funny because like with him, he has always been like, I swear, 12 to 15 years ahead of like the wellness curve, which is so interesting to watch. And he has his own stuff going on, and he always is like trying to help other people, and he kind of does his own nutritional like coaching and stuff like that. But
Cool.
it's so interesting to see everybody be like, oh, like that doesn't sound like anything too crazy. And he's like, no, like, have you heard of like keto, or like just anything, honestly? Like I could list a million things that my dad like was raving about before anybody even like heard of it. And then like, yeah, 10 or 15 years later, people are like, have you heard of this? I feel like you would love this. And my dad's like, I've been trying to love this for years.
He was on the trends before they were trends. That's really
Exactly.
cool.
So I feel very blessed that I have him and like all that information, because I feel like a lot of people grow up and food is just food, and it's not like, yeah,
It's
like
not
food is nutrition.
medicine.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
I would even say like a lot of people I speak to, like clients and even just through conversation, food growing up is whatever we're able to get. Like
100%.
it's not really to nourish your body. Their nutritional facts really aren't a thing. I know for me growing up, it was like, we're having shake and bake chicken tonight, or we're having shake and bake pork tenderloins or whatever, like the toughest meat in the world. I remember chewing it for what felt like 3 hours at the table.
Oh my God.
Crying. I'm like, I don't want to eat this. But you have to finish everything on your plate. Like that's what nutrition was for me and like so many people I've spoken to growing up. So that's really cool that you were given that, especially in that generation. I would say like that's rare.
Like I said, ahead of the curve. But I also have the same like experience for as you. Like my dad would cook like roasts, and like he would cook them still they were like so dry. Like the most well done like beef you've ever eaten in your life. He's like, put it in the slow cooker for like 8 hours.
Oh wow.
Like, oh my God.
It's cooked. It's not alive anymore.
Literally. He's like, I'm making roast for dinner. I'm like, don't do this to me.
Yeah.
But I am also very grateful for, I think, like him being a single father as well, like, and having his own things going on, like mentally and physically. And it was just like me and my sister kind of like fending for ourselves. I started cooking a lot, and then that got me into like food and stuff. And then that's when I was like, oh, maybe I feel like a culinary degree would do me well. Like, even if it's not something I take into like the rest of my career forever, it's applicable to literally everyday life. Like,
Definitely.
it's not even, yeah,
we gotta eat. We gotta eat.
And it's nice to eat good food.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I started going to culinary school, and I was like, oh my God, this is what food is supposed to be like.
Yeah.
Like, you can like kind of marry like actually healthy food, but like well cooked. And not over
actually made properly, and not just like, even now, like we've got these air fryers, and I use mine quite often, but you can put something in there and like for 2 minutes too long and it's done. Like you have wrecked that piece of food.
Definitely.
So, question, what's your favorite thing to cook?
Oh my gosh, I get this question all the time, and I feel like I should come up with like better answers, but I like a lot of like bowls. I do like I've bastardized one of the like Oshi Glows recipes.
Okay.
And I'll do it with chicken.
Yeah.
Like the seasoning from like
Not
it's a
the vegan
bowl kind of thing. And I make the chickpeas too. They're good, like crunchy like things, but I took the seasoning from the chickpeas, and then I'll like make the dressing and then put whatever like veggies, and I deal with quinoa usually. I think the recipe is with some other grain
Yeah.
that's hard to get your hands on. I remember when I was originally making the recipe, I was like, where do I find this?
Yeah,
Like,
not community.
No.
Another one of those hidden.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So bowls. I like bowls too.
Yes,
I'm a bowls girly.
bowl.
Yeah.
Or I'll make like there's another recipe that I actually got from my friend who is from marching band. But it's just like a ginger, like sriracha kind of lemon, like ground beef recipe. And I just put that with like rice or noodles, and it's so easy.
So
Especially
simple.
just like I don't always love meal prepping just for the fact that I don't like if I'm gonna reheat food and eat
Mhm.
leftovers, I want it to be like well done, if that makes sense. I don't want it to be like I feel like I'm eating like soft, like soggy vegetables.
I know. I feel you. I think so. As someone who meal preps like
Yeah.
every single week, like religiously,
And no hate, genuinely at all.
I sometimes get to like today, for example, I was like eating my leftover rice and I'm like, this is mushy. Like this is not as good as it was like a few days ago.
Yeah.
But I'm like also at that point where I think we could even bring yoga into this and
Yes.
like where my mindset used to be with reheating food to now. I'm like, I'm busy. Like I am now living in
100%.
Western society
Yeah,
where I don't always have time to like put on a fresh pot of rice and like
You're
cook
not
my
trapped
chicken
rice.
and that, yeah, literally like life is so different. Whereas like yoga, talk about yoga and like Ayurveda,
Oh my god.
it's like you make your fresh food and you, if you're gonna reheat it, you reheat it in a pan. And I actually lived like that for a year because I had no microwave. Like I literally was like, I don't have a microwave, so this is like how I'm gonna do it.
Definitely.
And it makes a difference in like the quality of the food when you're reheating it,
100%.
but also the energetic exchange of the food, which leads me to ask like yoga and food. Did you have an experience with food in your teacher training?
Yes. So Vikasa, we love Vikasa. Always we'll promote that. They do so you do class from like either 7 or 7:30 to 9 every morning. And then or 9:30, my bad. They do like this whole big like breakfast buffet, and there's always like a million different things. Like there's either like oatmeal or chia seed pudding, and like they'll rotate that and like a fresh juice, and then there's like a salad bar with like a million different toppings, and then a bunch of fruit, and you can get toast, and then there's like eggs you can order with like a bunch of warm vegetables and stuff. So they offer all that, and they offer like completely vegan food as well.
Nice.
If you're vegan, or like it's all pretty much vegetarian as well if you want, or if you want meat, there's meat. Like
They have everything.
Yeah, definitely a lot like less protein than you would see in like the Western world, but
Yeah.
definitely a lot of food. And that's another thing. Like when I was doing my yoga teacher training, they were talking about like Ayurvedics and stuff, and I was like, yes, but also like time. And I'll just finish my thought around like the meals I make. I'll like intentionally make stuff that like I can reheat, and I know it's gonna be like equally as good. Like I'll set aside the vegetables and like I won't cook them, especially if it's like zucchini or cabbage or something. Like that doesn't take a long time to like cook.
No.
So it's you just prep all of it at once, put it in a different container, have your meat in another container, and then like the rice, and then it all kind of comes together.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And it can be
That's
fresh.
my
It can
thought.
be simple and it can be fresh. And I like
Exactly.
that you kind of speak on that, like in the foods that you like to make. I think a big misconception that I hear and come across constantly is like eating healthy is hard, or that it needs to be like this beautiful meal that's
No.
like colorful
Like,
and
the bowls are not like
yeah.
beautiful.
And like it can be like if you want to, which I am so like I love aesthetics, so
Same.
I will. Like I'm gonna drizzle it with like my hot sauce, which is also like so simple, you guys. Like it's not that hard to drizzle with your sriracha.
Exactly, definitely. And especially like if I'm making food for friends and stuff like that, I'm gonna take a little bit of extra time to make it look super duper pretty. But if it's like the third night I'm eating like the same meal, I'm like, I put my sesame seeds on top and we're good to
Yeah.
go. Like, it's
You're like,
totally
and I
fine.
won't take a picture of that one.
No, exactly. I'm like, maybe I forgot the green onions that day. Like,
Yeah.
it's not bad.
But it is that simple. Like it's like 3 ingredients usually.
Yeah.
Some spices, but also like too many spices is sometimes too much. Like, you don't want to add all of the things. And I'm not a
Exactly.
culinary expert by any means. I did not go to school for culinary,
No, but I agree.
but
It's like simple is honestly much better. And like a lot of the time when I do cook for people, like especially even just my dad, like he's like, wow, this is so good. And I'm like, salt and pepper, baby.
yeah.
Like, obviously, like there's like thyme and like oregano and a million other like spices, and they have their like time in place, definitely. But a lot of the time it's just like a little bit of like pepper and enough salt to bring out like flavor, and just the right cooking time will do it. And
Yeah.
like forethought, especially like when it comes to like meal prepping, is I mean that's like where the most effort comes in, and then you have meals that are ready for you. Or like chia seed pudding, are you kidding me? I'm like, that takes 2 seconds to
It's
make
so
and it's
easy.
so good.
Yeah.
I'm like, I love chia pudding.
Yeah, no, you're so right, like not overcomplicating it. I've done this workshop a couple of times, which is like a mindful eating workshop, and it's teaching people how to make food taste good with as little stuff as possible. Because I'm about efficiency. Even if I am living that like slow life, like when I was in Hawaii doing my teacher training, I'm still
Yeah.
about
Oh my god,
efficiency.
to talk about that, by the way.
Yeah, well, we will
We'll get
get
there.
there, absolutely. But like, I think a big reason why people also kind of like look at healthy food and they're like, ah, it's so hard, it's so challenging, it's so difficult, is because your palate or their palate, it might not be at that place yet where healthy food tastes good. Like if you're so used to eating oily, like high fried, like whatever foods, of course it's gonna taste weird to like bite a raw zucchini,
No,
which
real.
even then like it's okay, but like you can make it better.
Zucchini and hummus.
So good.
So good.
Yeah.
And like I used to do cucumber and like hummus all the time, but I feel like cucumber and hummus has like a weird like taste combination. I might be getting too deep with it. But my friend, we went on a hike one day and she had, I thought it was cucumber and it was zucchini and hummus. And I was like, oh my God, this like
So
raw
good.
zucchini spears was like low-key revelation to me.
Yeah. Oh,
Like,
it's so great. And have you ever made your own probably your own hummus?
I've definitely made hummus in kitchens before.
Yeah.
I think maybe I've done it like 1 or 2 times at home, but you need a good blender. If anybody's trying to make their own hummus, you need a really good like food processor or blender.
It takes so long. Last summer, I made like 3 different hummuses. I went hard. I made beet hummus, a sweet potato hummus, and then like a regular hummus.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm like in the kitchen blending all of these things, and I mean, it turned out quite well, but it takes like 4 hours. So I would say, again, if you're looking for efficiency, just buy your hummus at the store.
Definitely. Yeah. Because like even if you're like gonna like soak the chickpeas and like boil them, and it's like you're thinking about that the night before, and
Yeah,
like
it's a process.
boiling the chickpeas for a very long time. Although to be honest, even just like dried compared to canned chickpeas, much cheaper. If we're talking about healthy food being expensive, it doesn't have to be. There's lots of options.
Yeah, that's
So.
another like huge thing that people are like, eating healthy is so expensive. And I'm like, okay, so when you go and you buy your, I don't know, call it non-whole foods, like I don't, even using like healthy, non-healthy, like I'd say 80-20, eat 80% whole foods,
Honestly.
20% enjoy whatever there is out there. But like if you were to actually break it down and say 8 completely non-whole foods for a month versus like whole, like actually prepping your food, you would probably be spending more on the non-whole foods because of the cravings, because of the late night, oh, I, had a sugar crash. I'm gonna go order Uber Eats or buy ice cream. Like,
or like not feeling satiated and being like, I need more food. And a lot of it's like pre-processed. Like the more processing you're like getting or is going into your food, the worse it's gonna be for you. Pretty much at the end of the day. Unless it's like fine dining, there's a lot of processing that goes in there, but it's usually all whole foods. So that's like a whole other topic.
A whole other thing. Yeah. Food, I mean, we could get so deep with just food, but I want to talk about yoga.
Okay, yes.
So let's go into yoga. You just did your yoga teacher training. It was 4 weeks.
3 weeks for 200 hours.
3 weeks.
Which is kind of a lot. It's condensed and very, like, dive deep, but it was good.
So, okay. I have talked to so many yoga teachers. I'm like, let's get into this. So it was 3 weeks. It was an intensive. It was in Bali.
Thailand.
Thailand.
Yes.
but you went to Bali after.
Yeah, later. That's why it's
Traveling girl all over the place. So 3 weeks, intensive. This is going to be such a loaded question.
That's okay.
What was your biggest takeaway?
Honestly, meditation.
Oh.
Because like I knew it was something I needed to like incorporate, and occasionally like Adrian has some like meditation videos and stuff like that and some breath work, but it's not as in your face as it is at least at Vicasa. Like at Vicasa, you do an hour of meditation before you do your movement.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
silent.
Yeah, so the mornings you come in they're silent. You don't talk to anybody. I mean, sometimes here or there's like a little like whisper or something like that, but it's silent.
Wow.
And the first actual noise is the music they put on, and then the teacher like instructing you, or the floor creaking, I guess.
That's amazing. So you sit for an hour right when you wake up, and then you get straight into practice?
So I mean, you can wake up on your own time.
Yeah.
They open the studio as early as 6, and in the first week it starts at 7:30. In the last 2 weeks it's at 7.
Yeah.
And then you start with Nauli.
Okay.
I don't know if that's like something you practice in.
No.
Okay, so it's like essentially like a manipulation of your stomach with like breath holds.
So a type of breath work.
Yeah, kind of. Exactly. You're like, I guess it's more of your abdomen and not your stomach. You're looking for like stomach waves, and it increases digestion and like just energetic flow in your body generally.
Is it like Kapalbhati?
No, Kapalabhati.
Kapala. Okay.
I don't know. Sorry.
I've heard it said so many ways, but it's different than that.
It's different than Kapalabhati, yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, I could demo it if we want, but it might look a
Let's
little
see it. We want to see it.
I haven't actually, I haven't done this since I like started traveling. So you want to take like a deep breath in and then fully exhale. You vacuum your stomach, and then from there, there's like steps. So you want to like engage like the center like line of your stomach, and you're like pulling out. And once you get a handle on that, I don't know, I haven't checked in on this in a while, so it might not be like
that's okay. It's okay.
Then you're like looking for like a full like stomach wave. So
whoa.
I don't know.
That was so cool. Whoa.
You can stand up.
So you can only do this standing? You're supposed to
do it sitting, but it's like definitely once you're like leveled up, and I wouldn't even say
it's a practice.
Yeah, exactly. It's not particularly easy. Like when I was like watching the videos to prepare for my yoga teacher training, he was like doing it, and I was like, this seems crazy. Like I don't know. Okay, so exactly. And then when you start, just like, I know it's kind of hard to see too. The part is once you like fully can like isolate your like center line, the wave from there is actually just like kind of kneading and like pushing like back, like side to side, and you can get a wave and then like reverse it.
Yeah.
But the center line is easily the hardest part. So we start with
That's what you start with
6 rounds of Naoli
every morning.
Exactly. And then depending on who the instructor is teaching like morning practice that day, it'll change like what we go into kind of, but usually we'll do some Kapalabhati and then like 3 rounds of it. And in between each round, there's mindful, like kind of just observing, yes, mindful observance of like just your state, how you feel, and the meditation. And then sometimes we'll do some like Nadi Shodhana or like alternate nostril breathing and like some ocean breath. But you're sitting there for like an hour.
Wow.
Yeah.
Every day for 3 weeks.
Yes.
That's amazing.
And then you do our physical practice.
And then you go into the asana.
Yeah.
So that was your biggest takeaway, was meditation.
Yeah, just genuinely there's so many different like forms. I guess that's more like breath work than anything, because in the philosophy classes we would do more like meditation kind of like practices and like talk about it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Wow. Okay. Fascinated.
yeah.
Reason I'm fascinated is because, again, have spoken to so many teachers and everyone takes something so different.
100%.
And so meditation for me, that was my intro to yoga. So before I got into yoga, I was meditating. I have done yoga like since I was probably 12. Like I remember going to a class and whatever, this, that, the other. But it was a few years ago that I started meditating because of mental health stuff that I was like, okay, I need to slow myself down. I need to like tap into my breath. And from there, I was like, oh, looking at meditation online, yoga. And then I learned yoga. So it's really cool that you were already like yoga and then meditation.
Yeah, it's we have like the exact opposite kind of, because I was like, whoa, my physical body needs help here, and I need. And it was actually my roommate that like got me into it. I was living in a house of like 6 people at the time, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But it was super interesting. One of the guys was like, yeah, yoga with Adrian, and then me and my like, she ended up being a longer term roommate, and we moved out together. But like her and I started doing the yoga every morning and stuff like that with Adrian, as if she was in the room with us.
I love it. We love her.
No, for real. And honestly, that was like so transformative, and I really appreciated like having the other person to do it with me, and it ended up just progressing further and further. I ended up doing it like every single day before I would go to work and stuff like that. And she was doing school for accounting, which is crazy in and of itself. So our practices kind of ended up getting a little bit offbeat, but it was still nice. Like every now and again, we'd come back together and like do the physical work, and like practicing with another person, especially if it's like just 2 of you, is such a unique experience, as well as group classes. Because funny enough, like my only class experience for yoga, besides like they brought it in like school like for a couple days or whatever, was with my dad's like ex-girlfriend. I went to like a couple classes with her, and then the past 4 years before my yoga teacher training, all home yoga. Like it was just me and my home yoga practice, and it was like very intimate, I guess, like because you can kind of just like do whatever and like not really care. And you're like, oh, does it have to be the perfect shape? Like, no, that's not the point of yoga.
I feel like doing it, like if I were to kind of like guess, doing it on your own is probably a lot less ego, because in studios, I remember when I first started going to studios, I was in a lot of that comparison where I was looking around me and I was like, what are these people doing? Oh, look, like this girl's doing it great. And like really not knowing like how much of a journey yoga really is. Like it's not about literally anyone. We're just all there together. But because it was so much ego, like so much external for me early on, it was probably a very different experience than like, oh, it's just me in my room. Like whether or not you even have a mirror and can see yourself, like that to me makes it so much more mental.
Definitely.
Was it more, I know you said it was physical, like it was like my body needs this. When did you find that shift? Maybe it was just when you did your training where it was more mental.
I think I'm sure there's like mental bits about it, like doing it every day and like realizing how, even just because like yoga is like the tip of the iceberg of like tapping into your like slowing down essentially. So it's doing it every day, especially when you're in a high stress environment, like it affects your mental for sure. But I think I was way more focused on like the physical, like, and how I was feeling, like just injury wise. It changes your mental state even if you're just doing a physical practice. But I think the biggest thing, well, like when it became more mental was when I did like my yoga teacher training. And that's when I was like, oh my God, like this is so different.
Knowing from a place of like all I have to compare to was my experience, which was 4 weeks. I was there 4 weeks. It was a 300-hour, which is kind of like, I'm hearing rare for people to step into as their first training.
Yeah, usually most, as far as I'm aware, and like whatever I've looked into, like they'll make you do a 200-hour before you step into a 300-hour. 300 is a lot.
I stepped into it.
Yeah.
And when I registered for it, it actually said 250. And I was
Huh.
like, oh, it's a 250. And at the end, they were like, you guys did 300 hours.
Yeah.
Like, you've been gone. I'm like, this makes no sense, but here we are in yoga world. So everything does make sense.
It doesn't have to.
Yeah. And over those 4 weeks, what I was hoping for, like stepping into it, was more philosophy. I was like, I want to learn
Okay.
philosophy. I want to learn the Sanskrit. Like, I want to learn
Interesting.
all of the Sanskrit names of the postures.
Yeah.
And going into it, it was not that. It was some, but it was like, this is the asana practice.
Yeah.
Like when you first start yoga, you learn the asana. You go asana, 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 and then they say like an asana is posture for those of you who don't know. And then you move more into, I think next is like pranayama, which is breathing,
Yes.
breath work.
Yeah.
And so I was like impatient, which is
Oh my
forever a
God,
practice.
yeah.
I go and I'm like, are you kidding me? Ugh. Like, again, huge ego. I'm like, I've been doing this freaking practice forever. Like, I know how to do a chaturanga. Like, I'm like, you're kidding? We're going to do this for 4 weeks. But let me tell you, like, it was such a spiritual and mental experience going through it because I was doing it for 7 hours a day.
Yeah.
It's different.
Mhm.
It's not just, oh, I went to my studio and I grabbed a latte after. It's you're immersed
No,
in
definitely. Actually,
yoga.
break me down in like a day of what your
Yeah.
training looked like.
So we didn't have like a set morning meditation.
Mhm.
We had optional beach meditation. We were right on the beach, which was gorgeous.
Yes.
So at 6:30, I think it was 6:30 every morning, one of the teachers, she would be out there and like if you wanted to join, you could. It was silent. You just go sit in silent, kind of like contemplate what
Okay,
you're
yeah.
going into for the rest of the day. And then I think our first class was at 7:30. It's been a while, so I can't entirely remember the
Totally
day,
right.
but I think that's when it started. I was with 2 different groups, so I learned flow, and then the other group learned Bikram, which is like a total different, like this is like the type A people and the creatives, like they split us up pretty much. And so the Bikram group, they would go to a studio, they drive into town and go to a studio, where the flowies would be like either on the back porch or we'd be literally on the beach doing yoga at 7:30 a.m. Like it was so flowy. And we learned like one posture per day
Okay.
for the first 3 weeks. Like we just break down this posture and we go through it over and over and over and over again. And we do it in our physical body. And then we do the dialogue and learning how to say it and learn how to do the cueing.
Interesting.
And I think we had then breakfast at some point, lunch at some point, dinner.
Mhm.
Like you eat in between. It was all vegan food.
Okay, yeah.
Um,
How did you find that?
I loved it
Okay.
for that time. And I
Yeah.
eat meat, like I eat everything now.
Definitely.
But then it was like, I don't know, I felt so much clarity, I'm sure because of all of the factors of like waking up in the sunshine. I'm in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
The sand is right there. I get to ground myself right away. I definitely wasn't eating enough protein. Like if I go back, I was probably eating like 60 grams a day, maybe.
Like
And
max.
now I eat like 160 a day.
Yeah.
But different experience. I think like yoga itself too, when you're immersed in that and like you're so conscious and intentional about everything, that's going to give you energy more than just food giving you energy.
100%. And the people
Yeah.
around you, definitely like being interested in the same thing helps. Also, I'm going to correct myself. I said meditation. Part of it is meditation, but it was mostly pranayama that we started with.
Yeah.
I was like, right.
It sounds like a mix, like definitely a mix of both if you're sitting in
Exactly.
silence.
100%.
Which I mean, both so impactful. And I feel like meditation is pranayama. Like you're usually
true.
focusing on your breath,
breath.
but you were doing very specific ones.
Yeah.
So you started your day like that, and then what? Then where'd you go?
So we moved into flow, and we did that or I'll say flow. It's not always like something like Nikki, one of the instructors, did like mostly flow. So it's like you start with a really slow, like kind of base, and then you'll do it 2 more times, but she speeds it up and she'll add on and make it a little bit more complex like each time. I feel like that's what like flow is to me, and it's definitely more of like a dance kind of. And then Costa, who's the like founder of the Casa, definitely does a lot of like strength-based trainings, and he has like a set booklet of like sequences, that's the word I'm looking for. That like obviously it flows from one posture to another. It's not like sitting, standing. But it's a lot more like regimented, I guess. And then Mikey has a lot of training in universal yoga. So I don't know if you've ever seen like cross mat yoga. If not, oh my god, it's amazing. We got just like a taste of it, and they're running a cross mat in January of 2026, and I don't know, there's only 30 spots, so I'm not sure if it like they opened it a while ago. I was like, my 300-hour ends of December. I'm like, to sign up.
You're like right away.
No,
just your
literally.
whole life is yoga training.
Exactly.
Like forever.
Like, really?
Why not?
Exactly. No, but it's so fun, and it's very interesting, and just like it totally switches like the way you thought about like being this direction on the mat or being on that direction on the mat. Like that is like a dance. Like when he took us through like a cross mat flow, I was like, how does he remember all of this? Because if you guys are yoga teacher trainers, you know the difference of like going from taking a yoga class to being like, oh my gosh, I'm cueing all of these different things and like trying to make sure people are aligned and remembering my own sequence that I've written out, like, or intended to take somebody through.
Sometimes I don't plan. Actually, majority of the time now I don't plan classes because I'm like
done it long enough, like you know what you're like going into, kind of have a general idea.
But early on, it's like, you're like, this is my sequencing. Oh my goodness, have I done left leg? Have I done this? Have I like, what about arm? Oh, what did I say about the wrist on that one side? I can imagine a cross mat, like that's inspiring.
Definitely. It's so interesting. And yeah, because you're like facing so many different directions and you have a little bit more like surface area to work with. I do love a mat.
Yeah.
Like, not that there's anything wrong with like stretching just in the grass or like on your wooden floor. And you all catch me sitting on the floor all the time, but
the best place to be. Okay, cool. So you would have a day of just like basically like yoga. Like you're just like doing yoga all day.
I guess I got a little off track. So we end at 9:30. We have like, I think they gave us 2.5 hours for like brunch and just like a bit of a break kind of thing. Then we come back after that and we'd either have like a making magic session, which is kind of like more nuanced stuff about yoga, like holding space for students and like there's so many things. Like we did chanting and I don't like if anybody's interested in Picasso, I don't want to like spoiler like but it's just essentially like all the like nuanced things that like you weren't expecting, because like you hold tightness in your body, which is or emotion, especially like you're working with people's hips and stuff like that, and all of a sudden you have somebody crying in your yoga class, which is totally normal, but it's like cultivating a safe like healing space that is like totally welcome and somebody feels okay doing that and not and like being able to be vulnerable like that in like a studio space. We had 10 making magic classes, so they weren't every day, and some of them were an hour and some of them were a little bit longer.
I think those trainings on how to hold space are so important.
Definitely.
Because I find here, like coming, not that I was even in the East, like I was in Hawaii, which is America, but like to the West, yoga out in the West, we have such a wide range of what to expect when you walk into a studio. You might be walking into a studio and it's like funny and like humorous and like we giggle in the class and it's like fun and people leave and they're like, and now we're getting our lattes, and like that was not a healing experience at all. Where you might have the other side of it, which is like you walk in, no one talks, someone is bawling their eyes out in the corner, like the other person is like, with each exhale, it's a grunt, like it's a full emotional release.
Yeah.
And as a teacher, like, I mean, it's kind of cool, but also like unfortunate here, we don't really know what we're going to get unless we're doing private yoga and like we set ourselves up that way.
Yeah.
But you don't really know what you're going to get. So I think learning how to hold space for that potential where someone really sinks into their body through the practice and like opens their, it's always the hips, opens their hips or opens their heart, and they're like, whoa, my whole life, all of my trauma just came up.
Literally.
It's really important to be able to hold space for that.
Truly. And I feel like, especially depending on the yoga teacher training you're taking, like if you don't get at least a little bit of a taste of that, they're almost doing you a disservice. Like they're not properly prepping you for like yoga in the world and like classes and stuff like that. Because what do you do when somebody just like starts bawling and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm like, but also it's as well like being able to set boundaries and like you can hold space for this person, but especially like being a female and like having male students and stuff, like, well, not that it's specifically always going to be that dynamic, but having somebody like get attached or think like the wrong intention of like the space that you're creating for them and stuff like that. And being able to set boundaries. And even with like female on female, it's like, oh, this person thinks you guys are like absolutely best friends now, which is like totally fair, but at the same time it's like you can't take other people's like baggage into your life like that and then constantly have like we all have our own lives, we all hopefully have our own friends and stuff like that. It's like, it's not that I don't want more, but like as a teacher and having like so many people come through your space, it's like you'd love to be able to make time and space for everyone, but that's just not 100% realistic.
Not realistic at all.
Exactly.
At all. And I feel like that it just sparked something in my brain, like it's similar to social media and like gaining followings through there. Usually people gain followings because of their energy, because they're showing that authentic energy online, and it's like so attractive. It's like, oh, this is someone that I want to hang out with. But imagine if like social media in real life, those 1,000 people or however many like walked into your bedroom and they're like, hey, let's hang out. Are we friends? It's just not realistic. Like it's just, and the fact that we actually give access to people like that through social media is kind of insane, and also like really cool that the world's evolved in that way.
Yes.
But I think very similar to being a teacher, like knowing how to not take on other burdens, because I think a lot of us, we become teachers because we have that energetic ability to be an empath and like feel people's emotions. But the burden that comes with that is sometimes holding on to it.
Yeah.
And not knowing how to let go.
Being able to like take a second to step back, like meditating and just doing some breath work and knowing you did as much as you could for this person at that time in their journey. And there's not anything you can do when you're living your life away from them, I think is an important step. But, so we get to do making magic, and then there's a lot of asana lab as well, which isn't, we ran through a lot of postures, to be honest. Like it wasn't just like one a day, we went through a ton. We'd go usually like 8, I would say, every day.
In each day. Wow.
The asana labs were long though, they were like 3 hours, which I mean, so beneficial because you just break up into like partners or like groups of 3 and then watch somebody do it. And I was doing home yoga for so long, and even though I added a mirror like later on into my practice, which was very helpful, having somebody be like, oh, it doesn't look like you're engaging this, or like you can stack better here and stuff like that is so beneficial. And then obviously philosophy, and the schedule like rotates, it's not the same every day, but
oh, that sounds great. I'm craving another training and just like soaking up all your energy, all of your yogi energy right now. I want to pivot or segue a little bit.
Got lots to talk about.
Yeah, yoga. So nutrition, yoga.
Yep.
You also model.
Yes.
So something that I thought about before this conversation is like the internal health point or piece of yoga and nutrition and like treating our bodies well, the internal, and then modeling as a very external, body's supposed to look this certain way. How have you kind of like merged the two, or have you?
Watching the shift in your body is always crazy, and I like, even you don't have to be traveling, like going through something emotional and stuff like that is hard. like generally.
It is.
And yeah, like seeing your body shift, especially because it's like day to day, you don't see anything, but when you look back on photos of yourself, like especially with like some of my modeling photos, I'm like, oh my God, I look like that. And then I'm like in my head a little bit, and I'm like, you know what? Slow down, give myself grace.
The body is ever changing.
Exactly.
We can't hold on to it because, I mean, we're all going to turn 80 one day,
100%.
hopefully. We live to 80 and we're going to be gray and wrinkly. And I mean, what I say is what matters the most is what's on the inside.
Exactly.
But of course, we are human and
Yeah.
you model, you take photos.
Definitely.
So, what is that, I guess, relationship with body and soul and self like for you right now?
We're getting back to like feeling good after traveling. I started going to the gym again last week. It's like just trying to find as like much balance as I can. I'm like I can only do as much as like what I'm doing every day, you know what I mean? I take care of my body. I go to the gym. I do dance, like, and I eat as mindfully as I possibly can, and like I show up as I am. And if that's what somebody likes and wants to hire me, great. I'm not out here crushing my soul, starving myself to look a certain way because I know no hate on anybody because everybody's in their own like space, and I think it's so hard being in the modeling world and having so many opinions about your body being thrown at you, and like I haven't even been as deep as I feel like most people are in like the modeling world, at least professionally, I think. And having as many like executives or like agencies being like, you need to look this way or you need to look that way. Like I do have some experience in that, but it's just not as much as I feel like some girls. And I've definitely like being in that sphere and watching other people like go through that experience of having all of these opinions like put on you is hard, and it definitely takes a mental toll. And I'm really glad that my dad didn't let me model when I was younger, to be honest, because I don't think it wouldn't be the same. Like I was 21 or 20 or something like that when I started modeling, so I had like a pretty firm base of like who I was at that point. And like I've always been kind of like relatively small. And like especially when I started modeling, at first I was like super skinny, like very, very like teeny tiny. And like I look back on photos and I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, especially now that I have muscle mass from like doing yoga and like dancing and stuff like that, and like doing all this, I was like, I was a twig. Like, I'm concerned for my leg. Like, is it gonna snap at the like rest of the week or something like that? Not that I ate and stuff like that. It just like I wasn't doing any like strength training or anything like that. So it's just interesting to see. But I love like where I am at and like what my body is capable of and the strength that I have. So I wouldn't change it.
Yeah.
So
well, thank you for sharing. I know that like even just speaking on our body, and I can relate in so many ways, and like that body image and like how we see ourselves versus how other people see us. I don't model, but as a woman, like it's such a big piece of I think like who we are, and in female friendships growing up, like the comparison and the judgment, and like it's so unconscious back then, where I think now like the path you've taken with yoga and like allowing that to kind of like guide you into health within yourself, not just outside but also within, is such a beautiful way to like tie in modeling too, and how you show up in that, because you can be happy in your body no matter what it looks like, and like attract the people who want to take photos of you because of who you are, like who is Iris on the inside. That's what I speak into everyone. I'm like, dude, like my best friends, am I going to hate them if they gain 20 pounds? No. Like, what? I love them because of their soul.
Like, it's like empathy as well. It's like, what is my best friend going through right now? Like, it's crazy to have that thought.
Yeah.
But
and that's such a good way to like externalize it, to like take it outside of our own heads. It's like, yeah, I would not, like if any of that happened to my friend, which it will, because like, I mean, they're going to have babies and they're going to have hormonal stuff and like whatever the world throws at us.
Like women.
Yeah, like there's so many layers to it that it's like, I think for me, I remember I'm like, it's my soul that matters the most. And like, that's what needs to be nurtured.
Definitely.
And yeah, that's cool that you kind of like, you've come to that in your own journey
100%.
too.
I will say that yoga actually very much helps with modeling though, because you wouldn't think about it, but you'll be like moving through something and they'll be like freeze, and then you're like, oh, you mean in this position? And you're like at an angle or like something like that. Or you're like standing like low key on one foot and they're like, just hold this for like 2 more minutes so I can get the perfect shot. And you're like, yeah.
The core.
No, truly. You don't realize, and your like muscles like start kind of like burning a little bit. And they're like, just 1 more second. And you're like, uh-huh. And you're like smiling or whatever it may be, like through everything else that's like going on. You're like, yeah, sure.
What is your favorite pose?
Oh, good question. You know what? I was doing a little like flow earlier today, and I used to absolutely despise half moon because I had no stability in my hips, especially after my car accident. But after my like training, I kind of was like I don't even think I could actually hold full moon like before I did my training.
Yeah.
Or sorry, not full moon,
Half moon.
And like maybe I would kind of like go a little bit to the side, but it would like I would probably just like fall over, which is totally just act of like humility and like practice of humility, truly. But
Totally.
that's also all of yoga. But yeah, I started doing it more in our like practices and flows at my training, and I was like, whoa, like the way the instructors are like guiding us into it, and also just daily practice and like lots of balance poses and stuff. Obviously, it's gonna help with that. And I was like, and the asana labs, like, and videoing yourself too.
Yeah.
All just like intersects. But I think like half moon is kind of definitely one of my favorites. That or runner's lunge, but just because of how it makes me feel.
Just because it's like such a good stretch.
No, truly. Also going back, I'm like, you don't model, but you do like train and you take videos of yourself every day and stuff like that. Like that's not something not to like think about when it comes to like approaching your body and your views on your body and stuff. Because like watching videos back, like I don't know if you ever go back on your account and like see stuff and you're like, oh my god, like I looked so different or something like that. So I think just being aware and like giving yourself grace. Like we're not all like models, but it all like is kind of funnels into the same.
It's similar. I think we're all influencers if we're on Instagram. Like we're all we're influencing. If people are consuming it, they are being influenced. There's a book called Influence by what's his name? Robert something. I'll figure it out. I'm not big enough for it to matter right now. But influence, and it's about humans and like human behavior and how we're literally mirrors of each other. Like if we hang out with someone long enough, we will become them. We will have the same mannerisms and say things in a similar way, and like even body language, like without even knowing, we unconsciously like mirror each other. So social media, like whoever you're following, and this is like some good deep mindset work, if you're not happy with the results in your life, check who you're following and what information you are consuming and like who you're hanging out with, because you, whether you like it or not, you are becoming exactly who it is that you're, consuming, which is like a total random tangent.
No,
but
definitely. I was like going into it too. I was watching some stuff by Cody Sanchez yesterday, and if you guys don't know who she is, she puts out a lot of stuff on like starting businesses and like running businesses and that kind of thing. And she was talking about how like just increasing the amount of like people you hang out with and like or that have a high net worth will increase your net worth and like what you're like working towards and stuff like that. That and also the fact that like we are mirrors, and it's like, oh, I don't like this thing about that person, and it's like if you turn that around and look at yourself and look at how often you do that same kind of thing and just being mindful of what you don't like in other people is probably what you don't like in yourself, but it's hard to see.
Yeah. That was great. It's so true. We hate it and we also love to hear it because it's like, it's the deep, deep truth. Like none of us are perfect. We're just human. I would say, I like to think we're all doing our best. Like, I look at everyone and
Nice.
I'm like, I think people are doing their best with what they know and with their circumstances.
Exactly.
I think if we were to put all, and I love this like metaphor, like everyone's pain and suffering and the stuff that everyone's been through in a big pile, like everyone's, put it all in front of you, look at it, you would probably choose your own. Like, if we really knew what people went through and like
100%.
why they are the way they are, we would probably choose our same stuff.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we could handle half of the shit the world has gone through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But also, very interesting point, it's like we like to choose what we're familiar with too.
Yeah.
Just like habitually as like humans, you're like, oh my gosh, like I don't know if I would have like, I don't know, like I lost my mom when I was like 22, but then my friend who like I was very close with her dad, we went to like on camping trips together and like all this, like lost her dad just a couple years ago. I guess it would have been like very similar, but I wasn't close with my mom at all. And then like her losing her dad like felt not to I'm not putting down my relationship with my mom at all, but like it felt like a bigger loss to me, like my friend losing her dad, than it was when I found out like that my mom had passed. But the relationship was like so different, and it's just like I did not envy my friend whatsoever. Like obviously no one would envy that, but it's just like we've gone through similar things because we're both like young and the same age and like lost parents, but it's like that's so much harder to me for her. This is like got really dark all of a sudden,
Yeah,
but like
no, it's so true
to go
though.
through than it would be. Even though like I know when I was younger, like because I had my like single father raising me, we spent a lot of time at their house, and like they were like the perfect nuclear family, and I was always like not jealous, but I was like, wow, like wait, I'm not gonna out her. Love you. Has like the perfect life, and they she had like a younger brother and stuff like that and everything, and like genuinely like seemed like the perfect most happy life, and it's just like wow, that would have been so great, but then having like kind of all of that taken away from you, it's like I don't know, just comparison is the thief of joy.
It is, and yeah, I'm sorry that you went through that. That's life stuff.
Definitely.
And you're right, like we choose that familiarity too, and people will often choose the miserable familiarity too instead of the
Scary
new
Definitely.
uncertainty, which is usually where like the most success lives, is in that uncertainty.
Yes,
So
and just,
lean
like,
into it.
breaking your boundaries. I appreciate your empathy, but also I like as tragic as all of that is at the same time. It's like I've done my work, and I honestly I'm so happy with like where I am and who I am that I wouldn't ever like no regrets. Like I love my journey. I love where I am, and I hope that for everyone truly, like that they come to the point where it's like they even in like my past relationships and stuff like that, even if it didn't end well or whatever, like romantic relationships, I don't dislike anybody of them, even though I might not talk to some of them, or like I don't not like I don't know. I appreciate all of the time spent and everything that has happened, because if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be where I am.
Yeah, and that's like such a good one. It's a high conscious way, I think, of living your life, because resentment, like living in that resentment, it does
You
nothing
want gallstones, babe?
to them. It does nothing to the people who you're resenting. It hurts us. When we're living in the state of dis-ease, it creates disease.
No, genuinely. I'm like, the way resentment can accumulate in your body in so many like ways, exactly like disease, is crazy. So it's just like, why choose to be miserable, guys?
Yeah, it is. It's a choice. It is very much a choice. And it's a very like open-minded way of looking at life. A lot of people, they're more closed-minded, not very much in that, not very growth-minded. But that's why we're out here preaching for them to hopefully make a shift and see some different things. We're going to wrap this up.
I know, I'm like, I don't envy you editing this, even though I've had a great conversation.
Yeah, this is going to take a minute, but that's okay, because this is what I signed up for in this life, and I'm excited for it. I'm going to ask you four final questions. and you have to answer in like one word or one sentence or less.
Okay.
Because we've already gone an hour.
Sorry.
And it's more exciting when it's like rapid. What are you the most excited about in your life right now?
I'm working on a yoga channel for YouTube, like in filming videos in that regard. And I'm also working on a digital product just for like mindfulness in like stress heavy jobs.
Love.
Very exciting.
Yeah. Oh, those are all like so exciting. I'm like excited. I'm like, let me get involved in some way.
Yeah,
It sounds so
for
fun.
sure.
What do you believe is the key to a healthy life?
I think just like giving yourself grace and learning to love where you're at. It's kind of the note that we finished this little chat on. The only person that's holding you back is you, you know? If you want something different, change it.
If there is, last question or second last, if there is one message that you want everyone, because everyone in the world is listening to this podcast, we believe it.
Yes.
What do you want them to take away?
Just find your own journey, even if it's not yoga, like, or holistic medicine or food or whatever you want to sum it up as. Just, yeah, learning to be happy in your own journey, which is kind of exactly what I just said a little bit, but
that's
I think
usually life. We repeat ourselves when we really believe it.
It's true.
I think that's a great answer.
Just
yeah, drill it in.
Exactly.
Where can people find you?
You can find me at Move Iris or Move W Iris on Instagram, and that should be probably similar on my YouTube. That will be coming out soon. Very exciting. Labs. And yeah, any other things you probably find on there.
Yay! Thank you so much for this conversation. This is lovely. I'm going to give you a hug.
Thank you, Kelsea.
Yeah.